This meeting to order, and we were supposed to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so let's do that. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen, would you like my computer?
No, I brought my computer just because I couldn't get it working on that one, but I maybe it was just me.
Okay, so you're up.
I
That would be Brett calling in.
Okay, so there should be a button where it works like a cell phone and you just hit answer.
All right.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, we've just begun the meeting, Breck, and we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and what I'm waiting for now is somebody to approve the agenda for the work session.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is we're going to review, discuss the topics noted below. First one is kindergarten readiness. Okay, Breck,
Are we doing, okay, so, that being said, right now we're in the planning stages for this coming fall. Obviously, we haven't had a meeting for a while, but updates as far as the way kindergarten readiness ended last year. We had great attendance in April, and then graduation was wonderful in May between Encampment and Saratoga. If you had 75% or more attendance, you received a Leapfrog Academy tab, which actually, this was the first year we debuted this, instead of doing the Kindle like we've done in years past. The kids were really, really excited about it, and they're similar to tablets, except they're totally educationally based, and they grow with them up to the age of 9. And so, as they progress academically, so does the programming. With those Leapfrogs comes the year free to Leapfrog Academy, so they can do everything from reading to math, literacy, science. There's art opportunities in there as well as learning to code, which is kind of exciting. And then, obviously, this is a slow time of the year, but it's catch-up time planning for upcoming grant cycles as well as kindergarten readiness into the fall. And we've got meetings set up to do that, make sure we've got all supplies to kick off the 22-23 school year. That being said, if you guys remember, Hannah changed their structure. Instead of normally doing the Fridays from January through May for kindergarten readiness, since that was changing, they opted to do a 2-week session in August, which will kick off in August. We will go ahead and provide materials and snacks for that.
okay, now the one that goes on in Hannah, do the kids go to the elementary school?
Yes, so instead of in years past, Elk Mountain and Medicine Bow have both done Fridays when needed. However, everybody's coming to Hannah this year instead of all 3 schools doing their own program.
Okay, and they go to the Hannah Elementary and get orientated, to speak, so to speak?
Yes, they will go around, they'll meet staff, they'll go around to the library and the gym. They will also go through the general steps of kindergarten readiness, so they'll touch on the same topics that we do throughout the year of literacy, math, self-help skills, communication. They'll do that, and then essentially it's practice for August 22nd, and so they'll get their stuff in their cubbies. They'll get backpacks, because that's usually the first thing that we give out with school supplies in them. And so they will get backpacks with school supplies in them for the first setting. And then they just practice, get comfortable with the new routine. And then there'll be opportunities for the parents as well to ask questions, and if they're new to the school system.
Okay,
I got a question. This probably might not be the right time. Sinclair gives quite a bit of money, don't they, for kindergarten radios? Don't we get money from Sinclair?
Recently they do more money for APT now than they do kindergarten readiness.
Okay. I was just wondering with the upheaval that Sinclair's having now, if that was gonna go away completely, maybe anyway.
There has been no word, and I haven't directly asked Annette Penman, concerning that.
Okay.
The APT grant stuff for the next 2 coming years will be put in, and then we'll know for sure.
Okay.
But from other ventures that I'm involved in, she still seems to have the capability to give out money.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Any other questions for Breck about kindergarten readiness? I have one more question, Breck. Those tablets that you're giving to the kids, you say they're educational orientated. Are they like games that they can play that build their math skills and things like that?
Yeah, so in years past, what we've done is we've done the Kindles with ABC Math associated with it because the teachers in kindergarten have been utilizing ABC Math in the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we skipped to LeapPad was Samara ended up getting a LeapPad last year for her birthday, and I thought, oh, this is so much easier to use than ABC Math. I'm not sure that I spent enough time with ABC Math, or I just really missed the point. We had sent that LeapPad to Miss Lee and Miss Spalding, and then Miss Swanson up in encampment also assessed the LeapPad, and they all really, really enjoyed it. And they thought it was a much more user-friendly interface. And so there's various things you can do in there, Joe. There are games that build their skills, but there's also books. And so they learn to read and they learn to do phonics just like you typically would without it being game-based.
Okay.
Is there a monthly fee on those?
So after the first year, there is, but they get a year free with just the LeapPad in general.
And how much is that monthly fee?
The year is free to us.
Right.
Because we just buy but after that, the monthly fee for that, is, I think the total year is $39.
Okay. So
I honestly don't remember up to tomorrow.
okay, so the parents would have to pay that.
Pay that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions for Breck on kindergarten readiness? Okay. Yeah, and I think the kindergarten readiness is actually doing quite well because Mr. Jennings, you know, kids coming in.
Absolutely, parents are really appreciated. Just all the presentations. So breakfast, you get a presentation from the school counselor, from your occupational therapist, obviously from your kindergarten teachers, and our parents and kids have really benefited from that program.
Okay, great. So I'm just trying to say that we as BOCES would like to
absolutely
continue with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to further back that, Excel Preschool over in Laramie reached out and asked for our HANA budget in particular because they actually want to blow kindergarten readiness up on the other side of the mountain in Laramie.
Okay. Great.
So apparently it's a pretty decent model.
Great. Thank you, Breck, for all that you've done on this kindergarten readiness, and we'll just continue to work on that. The next is community classes.
Yeah, so obviously from previous situations from you guys as far as wanting me to focus mainly on kindergarten readiness and Western Wyoming Community College, those are taking a backseat right now. However, because it falls under early childhood education, you guys had previously approved getting Miss Palmer certified for kinder music, and she's gone through all the classes for that and been certified, and that is a community-based class, but that's for 0 to kindergarten age children. It is music, and so depending on the age of the child, they either have 30 minutes or an hour of music once a week. And it's a pretty awesome program, and she not only will be able to deploy it throughout the summer, but also during the school year. On Fridays, we don't have school. Sadly enough, we didn't have a whole lot of interest when advertised in Hannah, but that usually happens, and so possibly after the word gets out that this is occurring, we'll have more. Since it is a kind of like a franchise concept, Kinder Music requires a minimum of 4 students in order to run class.
Okay, and how is that being received in Saratoga and encampment?
So all of the classes are being done at Saratoga Elementary currently. We will be in week 2 as of this week, and it is wonderfully received. And there has been some interest in potentially having Miss Palmer go to some of the preschools in town and maybe doing some in-home daycare stuff as well.
Okay, so in Saratoga, you say this is the second week. What's the numbers?
So last week was 8. There are currently 15 families signed up, but there were some other things apparently going on last Thursday, Wednesday, that conflicted. We are skipping Fair Week, but it's a 4-week program. And essentially, I think Ms. Palmer told me at the beginning of the week she had 2 more people sign up. So enrollment is increasing. Kinder Music does cap it at 21 kids though.
Okay.
And Ms. Palmer is comfortable at 12, but since there were only 3 extras, we took them.
Okay.
And essentially, the $10 per class fee for the kiddos, and so $40 total, which that covers the cost of Ms. Palmer, and there's a little extra to help cover training fees that were incurred. And then essentially after we get those covered, then we will be making money on the Kinder Music.
Okay, good. Any questions about Kinder Music?
I had a question about the kindergarten readiness. What is so you were getting Kindles before and now you get the leap pads. Is there a big price difference between those?
No, same price.
And how much is that?
$99.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about this music? Okay. Anything else, Breck, on community classes? Okay. Any questions from board members? Here. Well, with nothing else to discuss as far as kindergarten readiness and community classes, I think I'll adjourn this work session.
Talk about Western Wyoming
Well, yeah, let's. You're running. I'm just following the agenda. What did you want to talk about Western Wyoming?
Well, Western Wyoming is going off wonderfully. I'm really impressed actually, and I am going to write Travis Ward a thank you. He is an exceptional counselor for pushing higher ed. And currently, when I did our up-to-date book orders for this coming fall, there are 15 books we will order for Saratoga, 6 books total that we will order for encampment, and 31 books that we're ordering for Hannah, which is amazing. We have, essentially, when I took this position, we have tripled Hannah's enrollment for Western Wyoming, which I think is spectacular.
Wow, yeah, 31, that's almost every kid that's eligible.
Well, granted, some of them are taking 2 classes, but 31 books will go out this fall as of right now. And we'll update that until classes start, obviously, but book needs have to go in by the first week of August, just so they get here in time.
Okay. Well, great. And that's for dual enrollment, correct?
Dual and concurrent.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on?
They've already had to sign up, correct, for all of that? The classes?
They have to, but enrollment's open, Karen, essentially until the date, well, like the week after school starts, in the last week of August. And so usually we have 2 or 3 people that sign up the first week of school.
And what does that do to them if they're, as far as getting their book in time?
We have to deal with the bookstore. They overnight the book, and then essentially we reach out to the professor saying, we just signed up and we might be late getting our materials, and usually it's not an issue.
Okay, great. So you've got
But
those.
their semester starts, I believe, later than our semester starts by 1 week, so we're generally pretty good.
Okay. Good, you got that addressed already.
Joe, can I ask a question? Hey,
Sure.
Brett, this is Darren. As far as when the student signs up, we get them a book, is the process seamless from when they start to when they sign up to when they start their class? Are there any technology difficulties or anything getting in the way that we need to work through?
From the IT standpoint, for security, sometimes there are, because there's YouTube videos or other sites that are blocked by our IT security requirements. And if the counselors don't reach out, I can't directly fix it, but usually they fix it. Try to reach out to Andy and have those websites fixed. Otherwise, the students who have done this in the past are savvy enough only to go home and hit them at home on personal devices as opposed to school-provided devices. One of the issues has been we're seeing students enroll in classes that are different than normal, particularly digital photography, which is awesome, and it's a class that has been well received with the students that have taken it. But the situation is it's not explicit that they actually need a digital camera. One would assume that they do, but it's not obvious. There's only X amount of digital cameras, and we did have one student this spring drop the class because she hadn't reached out, because we do have funds to essentially buy those digital cameras and rent them and provide them to the students. And Cameron has, I believe, 2. Hannah has 3, and Saratoga might have 2 that have been loaned out in the past. But moving forward, that would probably be something we need to do. One of the things that is changing this fall is we have, don't quote me on this, but I believe 5 students signed up for Spanish 1, and I'm wondering if that might end up becoming a bandwidth issue just because of the audio that will come across in that class, or what sort of audio is required to be uploaded. So that might be a hurdle moving forward we'll have to jump across.
Is there not a way with the kids that are doing those college classes to unblock more than just this specific website? Because I know, like, on YouTube, Andy has to approve like each and every video, correct? Like, it has to go through, like, so some classes you might have 4 YouTube videos you have to watch and they're just small clips or something. And then she has to unblock every single one of those. Can we not allow them to have better access to the internet because they're doing college classes? Is there?
Well, Karen, that goes back to the fact, like, I can't even do Facebook advertising on my BOCES computer, period, because Facebook is completely blocked, even though it's supposed to be unblocked when I'm on my home network, and it's completely blocked on this computer. And so the only way I have figured out around that, and we have to think about this as a board, because it is going to be a investment is getting students that we know need that a hotspot.
A hotspot.
Yeah.
One thing that's tough, and this is Darren and Breck, is that if you have kids that are signed up for classes, they get their book, they get going, they show up for class on a Wednesday. Their assignment is to watch this video or do something, and if it's not set up to do that, our college or those kids taking classes there's some frustration. So I guess I ask that you work with our tech department, you work with our high school counselors so that it is seamless for our kids from the time they want to take a class throughout the class. So that's just something we have to continue to work on.
I think what Brett might be saying is that, that's kind of a board decision to release some of that, I would.
No, we don't lock down, we don't have
Not
control over
locked
what's
down.
locked down currently, do you?
Not lock down, not do the security for the.
I would think it would be, here's my guess, it would be a campus by campus. I would assume that the kids taking college classes are probably, for the most part, kids that aren't going to be looking up terrible things on the internet, and you can still track if they do. I mean, if they abuse the privilege, then it could be taken away, but it kind of makes it hard. I mean, if I sit down to do something and I can't do it, and they're at school, then they're goofing off for that class period. They're not doing anything. I've seen them, not because they can't access it at school. That's a waste of their time. Then to have to go home at night after school hours when they don't have the time to do it seems ridiculous to me.
Well, it's very unfair.
Yeah, like Darren said though, if they have assignments due and they can't get clearance to do that on time, then what? Whose fault is that? If they were going to support this, then I'm not saying that the board overrides, but I think there needs to be some kind of policy in there for this program that allows the students that need that are signed up for it. Instead of having to wait for clearance, go ahead and have it already set up.
Do we need a
Or the
policy
hotspot.
to do that, or?
I think, Brett, that we at least we need to communicate. I'm looking towards that down here too that can help. I think we just have to communicate what the student needs are, make sure that we can deliver on the classes. Don't say a kid can take a class unless we can deliver on the student taking those classes. I think that's where a little bit of frustration has came in. Is that?
Right. One of the things I'm gonna say is YouTube is blocked for all students. Teachers can get to YouTube, but students can't. And it's an either or. She can't just let a few kids through YouTube and others blocked. It's one or the other. So for her to follow her SIPA compliance and all of that, she has to make it shut down for the students. And we don't have the bandwidth
Is there a way to put in another login option within each school that's only associated for Western Wyoming classes, so that they would get on another Wi-Fi network?
That would be something, Andy, you'd have to talk with Andy about.
Okay.
But, yeah, I agree. We need to find a way to do this without, just blanket giving every kid access.
One of the things that would help is if they could get the syllabus from the professors ahead of time and share that with Andy so she knew which ones to have open.
Yeah.
Happen, because most of these profs who are doing online courses are adjunct, and unless they've taught that multiple years in a row, that won't happen. Because generally, that syllabus technically is a legal document, and if they release it early, to some students and not everyone, the college can get in trouble.
There just has to be ways to overcome this. Other districts, provide those services for kids. We can check into that, Breck. I mean, we can figure out, how do other districts get by this that block YouTube. We just need to make it, we don't want to put any more roadblocks in place for our kids.
Are there, so Andy has certain things that she has to be compliant with blocking, is that how this works, or I'm not?
Now, as we checked on Facebook, another issue we checked on Facebook, and because we had a request for a school to create a Facebook account. And there are certain requirements that the state says you have to do if you have a Facebook account created by the school. And so there's requirements that the state has, whether that's just compliance things. It doesn't mean that they should stop us, we just have to find out ways to work through those for our kiddos. And I think that's where, Breck, you need to just communicate with myself, communicate with Andy, to make this work with our kids, for our kids. There are requirements that you and I don't have to jump through, that Nanette talked a little bit about, and I don't know all those requirements, Karen, as of now.
Yeah, I've never, and that's the thing, I think that we don't know a whole lot about it, and I'm sure it's just not Andy just being mean, not wanting to do it, but we don't understand what goes into it, and if we understood maybe what went into it, then we probably should just have Andy at a meeting and try to sit down, and maybe have the counselors there, and sit down and see if we could figure it all out.
I think that would be a really good idea.
I agree.
Because there's so many things you don't know, and people just start assuming stuff and it goes by the wayside.
Yeah, what she has to deal with is completely different than what you deal with in your home. And you can put restrictions on your kids at home. Well, she has 600 kids, 650 kids that she has to take care of, and there are certain requirements that she has to do. And yeah, she has to make sure it's good for the littles as well as good for the big ones.
Yeah, that'd be hard. Is there, when the kids sign up for these online classes, did they get a notification that it went through, or how does that work? Brett? She's still there.
You still with us, Breck?
Looks like we've lost connection. It was a green light over here on this side, and now it's not.
Yeah. I think we lost.
Yeah, I can try to reach out.
The school district does have hotspots that we pay for, and Nanette and I were talking just briefly about that you could put a hotspot in a classroom while they were in school so that they could monitor what they were getting into.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to take the hotspots home because
No.
they wouldn't be able to monitor them. That may be an option or a solution.
Absolutely.
That way, but we do have hotspots that we already pay for as the school district, so that may be to put a hotspot in the classroom when they're taking their college course. That wouldn't allow them to take the hotspot home, but they could, from home, they could access whatever they need to.
And a hotspot is just going to a different network, is that
It's
what
just its own Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So that might be a solution, is to put those in.
Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, we've, in the meantime, we've been discussing hotspots, is that what they call it? So basically we need to figure out how to get around these problems without opening up the whole network, and, there's all kinds of ramifications, but I think if we do this before we actually get to the classes, so that as Mr. Jennings has said, we can seamlessly go through these, that there's not the frustration. I mean, there's always going to be a little frustration when, internet drops, or all of that stuff we live with it every day. But let's try to get it as seamless as possible.
One thing I was gonna say,
I'll reach out to Green River and I'll reach out to Vermontals too, because they have very robust dual enrollment programs. So I'm not sure that they, because it's 5, they're under the same security scrutiny, because I'm not really sure how any of that works, but I'll see what they do.
Okay.
when I was talking about the syllabuses, they wouldn't have to release it before the first day of the class. I mean, if she could have it as the kids get it, that would help.
Okay, did you hear Nanette?
Yes, I heard.
Okay. So, that's a challenge for this coming month.
When the kids enroll in these classes, do they get some sort of notification that it went through, or does the school get it, or how does that work?
So essentially they will get notification on their Western email address. So there's multiple things that have to happen. Like if you initially, and you just went through this process, Karen, having to do the parent release online after your kids signed up for classes. And then after the parent signs the release, it's online. After you technically, the kid is registered for classes, then the counselor signs the release electronically, and then the classes are released to me for registration. I push them through. If they don't have ACT scores, then I get notification that ACT scores aren't in or haven't been, when they've been put into dual enroll, they haven't actually talked to the back-end program. And so I have to go into the back-end program and manually put them in, and then essentially wait 24 hours to get them registered. And often, as we're seeing or have seen, they have to call the college and have actual, the registry office put in those test scores, because for whatever reason, the two programs aren't talking, but that's neither here nor there. And then after that, when complete registration is gone through, their Western Wyoming email address gets notification, and they will end up getting a class schedule.
So they basically have to log into a new email account through Western Wyoming?
Absolutely. So they get a new email account when they sign up for dual enroll through Western Wyoming, and that's where the professor does all the contacting. And then they have a separate login account for getting the online classrooms, which is generally Blackboard.
Good to know.
Okay, anything else on that?
Do you think at some point maybe we could see what classes kids are actually taking or not taking, or what their options are?
Absolutely. I can email you the list of everything that's registered for this coming fall, and then I can give you the whole list of what would be possible for them to take.
Okay. Thank you.
But that being said, counselors push English 1, psychology, American and Wyoming government, sociology first, because those take care of core college courses, and then Math 1410. And then if they've tested out or don't need to take, or have taken those, then usually they end up taking, some of these other classes like medical terminology, intro to public speaking, things like that, that are still needed for the college core. Down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else to discuss here? Okay, then I guess we're ready to move into the regular board meeting. I guess I have to officially adjourn this work session. And now we can go right into our, if I can get there, regular BOCES board meeting. And our budget hearing. So,
It's actually the top meeting, for some reason,
what's that?
the top meeting and in the featured meetings, that's the BOCES board meeting and budget hearing.
Okay. So, I'll forego saying the Pledge of Allegiance again. And we need to approve our, I call this regular board meeting to order. And I need an approval, motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the July 2022 agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the July 20th, 2022 BOCES regular agenda as presented. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes of our April 18th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the April 18th, 2022 regular BOCES meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the regular BOCES meeting minutes from April 18th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to go with the June treasurer's report, giving you your BOCES fund balance on the 30th of June of $211,000, $980.23. That would be your cash carryover into your new year. You see your major receipts from the Carbon County Treasurer and the concurrent tuition that came back from Western Wyoming College. And you see how your money is invested in the Bank of the West and at Wyostar. If you have any questions regarding your treasurer's report for the month of June, May, or April.
Okay. So there's no,
That concludes the treasurer's report.
okay. We don't need to approve that, do we?
No, that's just a report.
Okay.
On your board bill, on your bills, you do have two bill approval forms, one for the month of May and one for the month of June. Or you have, the May BOCES bills were $7,298.26, and your June BOCES bills were $29,012.76. Did you have any question regarding the bills that were paid for April, May, or June?
No questions on bills?
First, I motion we pay the May and June BOCES bills in a grand total, well, the May 2020 BOCES fund, $7,298.26. The June BOCES fund, $29,012.76 for a grand total of $36,311.02.
And then if you'll also read
Just do both
the
at the
next
same time.
June and July as
Okay.
well.
Then I motion that we pay the,
Let's just do it.
Oh, I see. No, that's it.
Yeah, so that we don't, in case we have some discussion.
whatever you want to do, I don't care.
Okay,
I'll do whatever.
so we have a motion to do the May and June for a grand total of $36,311.02. I have a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now,
All right, I motion that we pay the June 16th through 30th BOCES fund of $190.97. The July regular BOCES fund of $626.21 for a grand total of $817.18.
Second? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the June 16th and the July regular BOCES fund of $817.18. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now reports, April, May, and June. Brett?
Okay, so in the need of time, I'm going to essentially combine them all. May and April were spent finishing out kindergarten readiness and preparing for graduation. Also focusing on dual and concurrent enrollment, and that essentially meant advertising for the Western License program as well as staying up on registration, and also getting things ready for the end of semester grades as well as sellback, which we paid $640 on account this year. So at Western Wyoming, we also spent time drafting the budget, which will be approved later. In June, we had Ms. Palmer certified and in kindergarten or kinder music to teach 0 to 6-year-olds basic music across the district, which will be pretty exciting, and that will be in addition to her normal teaching, so it will be a contract position on her time away from normal teaching hours. We also, in May, helped with Title IV funds, and those generally cover dual enrollment out of the Title IV budget, but it was low in funds, and so we went ahead and picked up the remaining dollars that needed to be spent at Western Wyoming, and we will continue to do that for the next 2 to 3 years. This was a new thing for me because I have essentially, I guess, as of this month, been in this position for 3 years now, but generally it flops back and forth between BOCES and Title IV funds. So this is the first time we've actually had to pay a large amount of money out of that. Often in the springtime, we've paid roughly $2,500 in years past, but that hasn't been a big deal. So moving forward, we will always have a line item in our budget just associated with that. And then in June, hold on, let me open that up, excuse me, sorry. Like I said, continue to draft the budget, and June has been spent also planning for kindergarten readiness in the northern part of the district to kick off in August, and making sure that we have all of the needed supplies for fall kindergarten readiness and encampment and Saratoga, and making sure we've got meetings set so that if there's anything we want to tweak moving forward, we have time to do that.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question on the May report.
Yeah.
Where it says accomplished activities 2D, where it says moving forward, we will be starting a list of professors that our kids will not take classes from.
Yes, so there has been some professors that have absolutely no communication with students, or their communication is very, very late, or it is very obscure. And so knowing that this pops up on occasion, and the fact that we do have a new counselor, with Amy and Travis being pretty seasoned with online classes, they help to steer students away from certain professors at Western Wyoming. And I'm generally not aware of those things until it's too late. And so I have just started making a list of teachers that are not approved, so that when I approve registration and one of those teachers are on that list, I automatically contact the counselor and say, I'm switching to another online section, or notify the counselor if there isn't another online section so that the students can find another class.
Okay. Now I understand what it meant. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's don't go forward list is what it is. A list of warnings.
Yeah, it's the fact that the professor is going to be very hard to work with for the student. So for the student's benefit, why do something that's going to be very difficult?
Exactly.
Okay, any other questions for Breck on her reports? Okay.
When you have a list of the kids that are, is that how many kids are enrolled? Or is that how many classes they're enrolled in? How many classes,
That's how many books. No, that's totally how many books. So the numbers I gave you previously are totally the books. And so that would be equivalent to classes and not students, because we do have students in junior year and senior year that often take 2 classes a semester.
What if they're taking, I guess some are concurrent classes. Can they take more than 2 a year or 2 a semester?
If one's concurrent, they could technically take 2 college courses, but they don't. Or that is not an occurrence right now. Perhaps this spring, we will have to discuss that as a board, because I anticipate we will have 2 students, one from encampment and one from Hannah, that will exceed their BOCES policy class list, but they're very, very driven and want to continue to take college classes while they're at high school. But if that becomes a thing we need to discuss, we'll discuss it then.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have no unfinished business. Anybody from the audience want to speak? No audience, no new business at this time. So next meeting will be Monday, August 15th at 4:45 p.m. at Central Office Building here in Saratoga. So I move that we recess the regular meeting and hold a public hearing for the BOCES budget. Do we need a motion to do that?
Yep.
Okay, I need a motion to recess the regular meeting and hold a public hearing on the BOCES budget.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recess the regular meeting to hold a public hearing on the BOCES budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a public hearing on the budget. And that's under number 13. And there's the budget in front of us. Breck, do you have anything to say about this?
I don't have anything astronomical to say about this, no.
Okay.
Our expenditures have gone up a little bit, but not excessively. And we had essentially almost $10,000 more in tax revenue than we did last year.
Okay.
Assessed valuation is up.
Pardon me?
Assessed valuation is up.
Did the assessed valuation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all you have to do is try to buy a house.
Right, which, if we're gonna project forward, that could drastically change next year.
Oh yeah, our crystal balls are real cloudy. Okay,
Do we have to have a motion for the budget?
yes, we need a motion and we probably should read the budget.
Yeah, we didn't do the resolution. I think it was overkill last year that we had a resolution from the BOCES board, because once you adopt the budget, you just say that we adopt the budget of $340,000, and then it goes to the regular school board, and that's where the resolution comes in, is
Okay,
under the regular school board. So you don't see, that's why you don't see a resolution here. You just say, here, the BOCES board hereby moves to adopt the $340,000.
The one thing we will want to do is adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting
oh, before
we approve the budget. We approve the budget back in the regular meeting, if we can do that.
okay,
Sounds complicated.
Yes, sorry.
so we need,
To adjourn this meeting.
yeah,
During the public hearing.
and we need a motion for that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this public meeting
And reconvene the regular meeting.
and reconvene the regular meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're ready to adopt the budget for fiscal year 22-23. So,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the fiscal budget of $340,000 for the fiscal year 2022-2023 for BOCES.
hey, we have a motion and a second to adopt the available money for budget of $340,000. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So, with no further business, I adjourn the regular meeting of the BOCES